her how she get it. Made a couple racks, I never asked her how she did it. City girls out of half.
Welcome to Connect with Christina. With me is my friend Fernando. Help me say your last name.
Manderside.
Oh, I can spell it. I can't say it.
I'm full Mexican, got a German last name. Don't know how, don't ask why. That's it.
He'll come back to the podcast when he has to answer. But he is with Auto Pros, if you can see right there. And we're going to ask him a lot of questions. We're going to ask you a lot of questions.
You got it. I'm ready.
But the burning question is, since Auto Pros is a collision center, why is it as a whole, mechanics or collision centers, why do they have such a bad rapport? Why do people feel like they're always cheating them?
So I feel like in a lot of ways the industry has kind of ruined itself. And we've seen throughout time that the best businesses that survive, especially an ongoing recession or hard economic times, are those businesses that continue to be trustworthy and that continue to serve the customer. And so a lot of businesses you'll see during the recession that we're about to go into or that we're already in, a lot of those businesses will die off and make way for the new businesses to come in and thrive. The collision industry kind of gets a bad perception because it just, I don't know, if it's a human interaction or if it's just the market that we're in. But I will say that Auto Pros Collision Center is driven towards customer service, providing a great customer experience. Not that other shops aren't, but we just really strive to make that a priority, and our entire crew knows that.
And Fernando will agree. There's a lot. We want to be clear. There's a lot of really good ones. You just have to find that.
Right.
But I was personally curious as to why that was, because even growing up, it's just like you got to have your mechanic, because if you don't, you're band-aiding this car.
But also too, you gotta realize that a lot of body shop owners and a lot of mechanic shop owners are just that. They're mechanics, and they're old bodymen or they're old painters. They're not really business people. They're not the most business savvy human beings. They literally go from working on cars and fixing things to trying to mend people and help people and relate to people. And sometimes that communication barrier can create some trust issues. But
like you said earlier, you're one of the collision centers that's repairing that.
100%.
What is the word? That misconception or whatever.
Right, trying to change the industry and the perception that most body shops get.
So, in our space, as far as personal injury, property damage, collision repair is huge. It's basically just such a profound, important part of someone that gets into an accident, because without their car they can't work, without their work they can't pay bills, they can't afford anything.
Right.
So what part do you play, and how do you do things so that you're different?
Well, especially in the PI world, I think that we cater a lot to the personal injury law firms, but we structure our damage analysis in a way where it's very similar to an attorney and how it presents a case, and we do that to every car that comes in the shop. We focus on capturing 100% of the damages right up front. We have our best skilled or our highest skilled technician, our highest skilled estimator, repair planner, looking at these vehicles simultaneously, and that's all they do all day long, is they capture damage. We document what's there. So it's not uncommon for us to have a car, even if it's $3,000 or $4,000 in damage, to have 50 or 60 attachments that go with sending off this repair plan to the insurance company, to the law firms, and to the customer ultimately. So.
Yeah, because for me on the other end, where I want to help the clients because they've already been through a lot, trauma, physical pain, financial pain, all of the above, right? So I want to make sure the clients' cars are going to get returned to them in a good condition, and that it's not Band-Aid.
100%. So we actually just ran a report this morning, and it shows us what percentage of OEM parts that we're using. Now, because of the
and just explain what that is.
OEM parts or original equipment manufactured parts that are designed to go back on the vehicle in case of a loss. So For example, if you drive a BMW or if you drive a Mercedes or a Toyota manufactures those parts to be put back on the vehicle. But there are also aftermarket parts that a lot of the insurance companies will prefer to use and will put on their estimate. At AutoPros, because of our linear process and because we're able to structure our damage analysis and justify everything that's needed for the repairs, we use about 95% OEM parts. The other 5% comes from once in a while having to use some used parts or some aftermarket parts just because of availability from the OEM manufacturer.
And do you communicate that to the client?
100%. Yeah, everything that we do is communicated to the client in not only verbal communication but also written. It's on every repair plan that we give out. We give out essentially a final bill that reflects all the work that was done, and we remind our customers that everything that we did and everything that we touched on the vehicle is warranted for life.
And I know I remember having, our friend Rob Stringer with, help me. I just came back from Vegas, guys.
Arizona Collision.
Rob, don't be mad. Yes, Arizona Collision. And I was asking him, I'll ask you the same thing, like, a car might look fine on the outside, but it surprised me and now I've learned that doesn't mean anything. That's why you have to take it apart.
100%, 100%. So most of the damage that happens to any vehicle when it's involved in a loss is secondary damage. It's damage that isn't seen just based off of a visual inspection. And I won't say what shops or what, but a lot of shops will just band-aid the car and try to put it back together as best they can, and try to essentially absorb as much money from the insurance company or from whoever's paying the bill, and put up essentially a band-aided car to make the most amount of profit on there. We do something very different, and we document the repairs from start to finish, from what the car looked like at the very beginning, after it was disassembled, and then during the repair process, our technicians are instructed to photograph everything that they do. So if there's any question, we can always refer back to those pictures. And those pictures we share with law firms, we share with customers.
So there's no question.
100%.
And I think you said you videoed that too, right?
Yeah, we do 360 videos on cars as they come in, and then 360 videos on cars as they go out, and then multiple times throughout the repair process, we're documenting our photos.
Now, I want to understand something. So when a car is in, a car accident, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's say you can't even move the car, you have to tow it. How come there's a lot of the specific tow yards that get those cars? I'm just trying to understand.
Sure. So a lot of the towing companies are contracted with DPS, or they're contracted with an insurance carrier, and typically what happens is you get in a car accident and it's, let's just say you're on the I-17 and get a car accident. Well, DPS is instructed to call in whoever their tow provider is in that area to go and retrieve the car. So once they retrieve the car, typically it's All City Towing, Western Towing, Quick Big Towing, whoever's assigned to that specific area code, and whoever's available at the time of the accident, it gets towed to their impound lot.
Okay.
And at that point, it's up to the customer to help retrieve that vehicle and take it to whatever corresponding body shop they choose.
And I know in my experience, what I noticed, because in every aspect, there's like a chance for customer service, right? Especially, like I said, we're dealing with people that have really just been through enough, like just in every which way. It's frustrating, but I've liked my experience with AutoPros, where if our client needed like their medication out of the car or personal belongings, like it wasn't this unknown place where they don't care about them.
Right. Right. What we do a lot of times is we'll go and pick up the vehicle from this yard, because most of the yards that actually all of the yards that are are tow yards, every vehicle is stationed outside, and because of that, a lot of times they're super hard to get to, or it's 120 degrees out and you're touching a car that's 140 degrees because it's all metal. When we tow them in, we house them inside. And it's a cooled environment to where a customer who's elderly or anything like that can come in, retrieve their personal items, and typically we'll go and we'll pull license plates or anything else that they need off the vehicles. We've even helped with, hey, I just put a brand new battery in there. Is there any way you can swap it out? It's like, yeah, that's fine. You know.
Right. Wow. That's going the extra mile for you. But also, I'm still learning a lot as well. But like even advocating for when say their adjuster shows up and then you have a person there to go like, kind of assist with giving value to the car.
Absolutely, absolutely. So whenever, are you referring to maybe total losses?
Yes.
Or, yeah, so whenever a vehicle totals out, the insurance company is essentially responsible for making you whole. As a consumer, as a client, you pay your bill every single month in case of a loss, and when a loss occurs, if the vehicle is deemed a total loss, and they owe you what the value of that car is. What we do is we provide comparables, and the insurance company does it on their end, but a lot of times either the information that they're getting is dated or inaccurate. So we run our own analysis just to be able to provide that service for the customer on the total loss end. Since we're not fixing the car, we don't get to give them a great experience with the repaired vehicle, right? Having a new shiny product, as we detail every single vehicle, looking at them as they drive into our parking lot. On the total loss side, they have this, this mangled car that's essentially going to be deemed a total loss, and the insurance company has to pay them to make them whole. We always want to make sure that the customer is put first and that the customer's settlement is whole. So we'll go and we'll do fair market comparables for the customer so that they know that when the insurance company reaches out or when the insurance company reaches out to the law firm to provide an offer for the value of their car, that offer is fair. And a lot of times what we find is that it's not fair. It's a little undervalued. We've helped customers get, anywhere, I think the highest dollar amount we've gotten a customer extra above and beyond what the initial offer was about $8,500. So
a lot.
100%. Yeah, it was on a later model Volkswagen. The customer was offered $13,000. We ended up getting a little over 21.
But that's my point, is like when, like a collision center like yours, you have someone that can advocate for the client rather than no one at all, zero to contest anything or help with the analysis.
100%. 100%. And I think that's what sets us apart, is that we don't leave the customers hanging out to dry if their vehicle doesn't repair. So at most body shops, they focus on the repairable vehicle, keeping the customer updated when it's in reassembly, when their vehicle's almost done getting ready to be picked up, on the final end product, making sure that the paint is shiny and that the wheels are nice and the glass is clean. On the total loss side, customers don't really get that. And I think at most body shops it kind of gets ignored.
They're already so upset.
Right, exactly. And so you're helping someone in a time of crisis. I think I read in an article one time that the most traumatic experiences that you can have is, number one is death, number two is divorce, number three is auto accidents. Super traumatic, right? And so we're able to help people in a time of crisis when they need it the most.
Yeah, that's super powerful when you think about that, because it's like, and like I said, this is why we are in the space for us, is because we like to help people out. But with all the stuff going on with the shortages, like what have you noticed? Like, because I get clients that are so frustrated they can't even find a rental car.
Yeah, and so with that, I mean, there's like a supply and demand across the entire country, right? And so it's hard to get.
Not just Arizona.
Not just Arizona. So we're not the only ones that are dealing with it. We exhaust all our resources, and so about this time last year, I noticed that the demand for rental cars was skyrocketing. Since there was typically, we reach out to an enterprise, they wouldn't have a car, and so we'd have to go to multiple enterprises to find this customer a car. I ended up starting up a rental car company that kind of goes as an ancillary company to the body shop. I also own my own towing company, Prestige Towing, discount rental car, just to be able to help facilitate the repair start to finish for all my customers. So in a time where a customer doesn't have any collision coverage or provide a free loaner, if they do have collision coverage and
That's
they do have
huge.
rental, then we also provide that as a service to be able to, pick up, drop off one location, get in a nice rental, and then off you go. Forget about your car until it's all done, and we make it look beautiful, and then call you back to pick it up.
I've not heard of that. Auto Pros. There you go.
Changing the game.
Who thought of that? That's what, you get a high five for that, or a fist bump.
Yeah,
That's
no
what that's called.
Yeah, and also too helps the PI firms, because then their clients can get to to their chiro appointments,
No,
to
it's
their pain
huge.
to pain specialists.
Sorry, I'm
and-
just in all of that because that's like huge. Because it's on the other end, like it's really does. It's heartbreaking when you want to help someone and you can't, and you're like, and I've told you before, we do try to educate them on first party rental, looking at their insurance, and really kind of educating them on what you should have. You're not protected without this, this, this.
Right.
So to have that is, that's just huge.
Absolutely. One other thing too that I would want to mention is we all work with insurance companies, right? And that's who essentially pays the bill at the end, whether it's on the PI side or the PD side. We want to educate the agents that are out there to include OEM endorsements to make sure that the customers that they're not just selling a policy, that they're actually selling good coverage for the customer in time of a loss. And a lot of people don't put themselves in a scenario, oh, I'm going to get into an accident. When they're buying an insurance policy, they're thinking, how do I get my monthly premium down?
Yeah, even the whole gap insurance scares
Gap
people.
insurance down at the end of every month, and it's not looking at, okay, when I need the coverage, what am I going to need?
Right.
So making sure that
Well,
you're
I mean,
covered.
it's because when you buy a car, you're not expecting to get in a wreck. Just like when you get married, you don't expect to get divorced. That's a good analogy.
That's right.
Good job, Christina. But you know what I mean?
Amen.
So, yeah, so it's like I try so hard, and Gatsby will laugh because I really take the time to try to educate them of stuff I didn't know either until I got in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have that aspect of like, because I feel like a lot of the things you do, it's not traditional, but you're doing it anyway.
Absolutely. And so when we first started, we actually have just all the things that we've done, the processes that we've implemented, all those things are special because it's always in search of how to provide the best customer service, how to help a customer that's in need, and being able to enable yourself to help somebody when they need the help. So
And just so people understand, even when they are at fault, they can still bring the car to you.
absolutely. Oh yeah. All they would essentially it's a first party claim. They would want to reach out to their insurance company even if they are at fault. File the claim. If not, we have a whole team that stems on doing intake work, and so we'll file the claim a lot of times for the customer and make sure that everything gets documented, that there's not something that's out of place. We'll try to collect police reports when we can. Accident exchange forms are huge. We'll facilitate
Even
that.
when they are at fault.
Oh yeah, start to finish.
And the other thing that I want people to understand too is that again, even if it's their fault or not their fault, the consumer reserves the right to use whatever collision center they pick or
Right.
they choose or prefer.
Right. And so a lot of times it kind of leads us into
Because
this point.
I'm saying that because people think like, oh, I have to go on this list.
Right. And so that preferred list that your insurance company provides at the time when you're filing the claim is essentially a list of body shops that they work with, right, that they're connected with. Well, we all know that the insurance companies, essentially their goal is not to be your friend and guide you through a process. Their goal is to essentially minimize their exposure on every claim. And they do that by putting shops on their preferred list that essentially, I don't want to say cut corners, but work on mitigating the cost of the repairs for the insurance company and on behalf of the insurance company. A lot of times that results in a substandard repair or things not getting done right, or maybe just like we talked about earlier, just a patch job on the exterior. Not going into depth and finding all the damage and making sure that the frame is back to the way it was before the loss. We go as far as replicating factory seams, factory seam sealers.
If you don't want your car Band-Aid with broken frame and computer system that will break after you settle, you go to Auto Pros.
Absolutely.
That could be a commercial,
Yeah, there you go.
right?
Yeah.
And I know it's almost time to go, but Fernando is from right here in Arizona, right?
That's right.
And he's a Mesa Jackrabbit, guys.
The Jackrabbits.
Yeah. So another reason to support the guy. But I feel that you have really, been a good example of you know, how anyone out there could decide to chase after a dream, make it happen, and then turn around and help other people. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
So how did you get there?
Through hard work.
Yeah.
So I'm no stranger to hard work, but also too, I've just kind of surrounded myself with great people, and even today, I mean, all my crew is you know, it's just composed of great people, and I love to surround myself with like-minded individuals that just get it, right, and that don't look at. I guess what's different for me is that I look at the business as an opportunity to grow my people instead of using my people to grow my business, and that's
We're so clipping that, Gatsby.
and that's where I think that you know the
Will you
biggest
say that
difference is.
again? Please say it again.
We use our business to build a people, and not the people to build a business. And I think that's what sets us apart, because everyone that works for Auto Pros, essentially, you know, just stems from the same heart, from the same mind as I would, right? And so everyone's treating customers that come to Auto Pros just as I would, just as I intended it to be. And a lot of my guys are, you know, they're very seasoned, they're very vetted. Some have worked for the insurance company. Some were independent appraisers at one point, and they come into Auto Pros, experience our culture, experience what we do for people. And although the insurance company may not like it because, you know, it costs them more money at the end of the claim, we're doing it to provide the best customer experience that you can find in any
Possible.
repair. Yeah.
So if there's other shops in, you know, across the United States of America, and they want to tour your facilities, are you open to that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have had shops come in. We just had a couple guys from Sacramento come over. We've had guys from Ohio come look at our shop and look at our processes. And I'm an open book. As a matter of fact, we're leading a group called a PAC group. We actually meet this Thursday night, and it's essentially about 30 different shop owners that are like-minded, that want to do the right things.
I like that.
We just want to help the industry out, right? Get that misconception of, hey, body shops being this crooked, nasty, grimy place to take your car, and kind of get that perception out of people's heads, and give them a brand new, fresh, young perspective that, you know, I think that's what we bring to the table.
See, this is why we love Fernando. We share the same mind,
Absolutely.
right?
All
What do we
ships
always
ri-
say?
all
There's
ship-
enough work to go around, and what else?
All ships rise at the tide.
There you go. Or we rise by lifting others.
We rise by lifting others. Yeah, I think that's why we connected at the very beginning. You said that, and I'm like, man, I say that all the time. You know?
And we mean it. And that's why we're here, because we want to impact as many people as we can. You're going to see this guy again, because we're going to talk. We're going to bring him back about how to have the best team, you know, and how to grow your team, and then et cetera, et cetera. There's so much to this man. So, Fernando, thank you for coming to
Thank you,
connect
Laguna.
with Christina, a.k.a.
The MF Clout Guy.
Brand new biz, never asked her how she get it. Made a couple racks, I never asked her how she did it.